The morning sun cut through the grimy windows of Bear's Den Diner like broken promises. September 28th, 2024. A Saturday that should have been ordinary. The kind of day where families ate pancakes and talked about nothing important. Where retired men nursed black coffee and read newspapers that told them the world was still turning. Where waitresses refilled cups and counted tips and thought about what to make for dinner. But Wren Hayes was about to make this Saturday unforgettable. She stood outside the diner entrance for 93 seconds before her small hand pushed open the door. 7 years old, 47 pounds of bone and fear wrapped in a navy blue hoodie 2 sizes too large. The sleeves covered her hands completely, hid the scars, the kind of scars that 7-year-olds should never have. The bell above the door chimed. 23 people inside. None of them looked up. Wren's light-up sneakers made soft squeaking sounds on the black and white checkered floor. Dead batteries. No more lights. Just worn rubber and Velcro straps held together with a safety pin on the right shoe. Each step was measured, deliberate, like crossing a minefield where one wrong move meant everything exploded. The smell hit her first. Bacon grease, pancake batter, coffee so strong it made her empty stomach twist. 21 hours since her last meal. School lunch yesterday, a handful of crackers and an apple she'd hidden in her backpack before Garrett found it. Garrett, his name tasted like copper in her mouth, like blood, like the cigarette he'd pressed into her arm 9 days ago when she asked about the photograph in his wallet. The photograph of Ainsley Monroe, 8 years old, missing for 3 weeks. The girl everyone said didn't exist. But Wren had seen her, in Garrett's wallet, behind his driver's license. A school picture with that blue cloudy background they used at Westside Elementary. The same background from when Wren was in first grade before her parents divorced and everything fell apart. The diner's classic rock radio played low under the sizzle of the griddle. Creedence Clearwater Revival. Bad Moon Rising. How appropriate. Wren didn't know the song's name, but she felt it in her chest. That rising dread, that certainty that something terrible was coming and nobody was going to stop it. She scanned the room with hazel eyes too old for 7 years, dark circles underneath, the kind that came from weeks of 3-hour sleep nights, from being locked in a basement bedroom with a padlock on the outside of the door, from listening to footsteps above her head and wondering if tonight was the night Garrett decided she knew too much. Table by table, booth by booth, looking for someone, anyone. Her backpack hung from both shoulders, purple with a broken zipper held shut by a paper clip, inside a drawing she'd made of Ainsley Monroe. A newspaper clipping about the missing girl, a printed article from the library computer about child trafficking. Evidence, proof, the kind of things adults were supposed to care about. Wren's fingers found the plastic dinosaur in her hoodie pocket, a green T-Rex, 3 inches tall, worn smooth from nervous handling. Dr. Ramirez, her old therapist, had given it to her 6 months ago, back when people still pretended to care, back before Dr. Ramirez started writing reports about behavioral issues and attention-seeking and self-inflicted injuries. The reports Garrett had shown her mother, the reports that made Joanna Hayes believe her boyfriend instead of her daughter. Wren gripped the dinosaur tighter, counted to 5. A grounding technique. Dr. Ramirez taught her that too, before she stopped teaching her anything except how to doubt herself. 1. Garrett's car was still in the parking lot. Silver Toyota Camry, vanity plate T, ECH4U, because he was an IT coordinator, because he fixed computers at elementary schools, because he had access to children and everyone trusted him. 2. Her mother Joanna sat in that car right now, fixing her makeup. Garrett had told her to wait, said he was taking Wren inside for a family breakfast, said it would help with the bonding, said Wren needed positive male influence. 3. Garrett was in the bathroom, right now, right this second. Wren had maybe 3 minutes, maybe 4, before he came out and saw what she was doing, before he stopped her, before he locked her in that basement room again, and this time never let her out. 4. She had tried to tell people before. 4 times. Mrs. Veronica Strand, her school counselor, 3 weeks ago, showed her the drawing of Ainsley. Mrs. Strand had smiled that syrupy smile and said Wren was processing divorce trauma through fantasy, had documented behavioral issues, had called Joanna and recommended increased therapy. 5. Mr. Gerald Fisher, the neighbor. and 2 weeks ago, showed him the newspaper clipping. Mr. Fisher had gone to talk to Garrett, came back an hour later, told Joanna that Garrett was a stand-up guy and Wren just needed time to adjust, that divorce was hard on kids, that sometimes children acted out, and the others. The police non-emergency line, Officer Morales, said children couldn't file reports without an adult present, said Wren needed to talk to her mother. But her mother believed Garrett. Her mother was so tired, working 2 part-time jobs before Garrett came, so exhausted, so desperate for help. And Garrett helped, paid rent, bought groceries, fixed things, made life easier, made Joanna blind. Wren released the dinosaur, took a breath, started walking toward the first table. Booth number 3, right side. Family of 5. Father in his late 30s. Button-down shirt, wedding ring, mother with pulled-back hair. Tired eyes but smiling. 3 children between 4 and 12 years old. The oldest daughter was coloring with crayons on a paper placemat. The youngest boy was eating scrambled eggs with his fingers. Normal, safe, the kind of family that should help. Wren approached slowly. One hand clutched her backpack strap, knuckles white. Her shoulder brushed the edge of their booth. The father looked up. His expression shifted from neutral to annoyed in half a second. She opened her mouth. Nothing came out. Her throat was too dry. 21 hours since water. Garrett controlled the refrigerator, had put a combination lock on it 2 months ago, said it was because Wren was sneaking food at night. But really it was about control, about making her weak, about breaking her down until she stopped asking questions about Ainsley Monroe. Wren swallowed, tried again. "Excuse me," her voice was barely a whisper, smaller than she meant it to be. The father put down his fork. "We're having a family meal." The father's voice was firm, parental. The voice of someone used to being obeyed. "Go find your parents, but I need to show you something." Wren's hand moved to her backpack, started to open it. "It's important. It's about a girl who's missing, and I think I know." The father raised his hand. Stop gesture. Universal. The kind that meant no discussion, no negotiation, just obedience. "Kid, we're eating. Go find your parents." The mother pulled her children closer, protective, like Wren was a threat, like this 47-pound 7-year-old with dead battery shoes and dark circles was dangerous. The oldest daughter stared. The middle child looked away. The youngest kept eating eggs. Wren's shoulders dropped, curved inward, making herself smaller, safer. The way she'd learned to move around Garrett, never take up space, never be noticed, never give him a reason. She turned away. 47 pounds of disappointment shuffling toward the next possibility. Counter seats, numbers 7 and 8. Elderly couple. Late 60s, early 70s. The man wore a veteran's cap, Army. The woman had a church bulletin folded beside her plate. They came here every Saturday after services at Oak Ridge Community Church. Wren had seen them before. On other Saturdays, in another lifetime, when Garrett still pretended to be nice. She approached from the left, gave them space, didn't want to startle them. Her hand went into her backpack, pulled out the drawing, the one she'd made 3 weeks ago after seeing Ainsley's photo in Garrett's wallet, colored pencils on white paper. A girl with brown hair and green eyes, smiling, the way she'd looked in that school picture before she disappeared. The elderly woman noticed first, turned in her stool, kind eyes, the kind that reminded Wren of her grandmother before she died 2 years ago. "Excuse me," Wren's voice was steadier now. "Practiced. Ma'am, I need to show you something. It's important." She held up the drawing. The woman looked, studied it. Her expression shifted from curiosity to confusion to something else. Something that looked like pity. The man leaned over. Frank Buchanan. Wren would learn his name later. 23 years with Seattle Police Department. Retired 5 years ago. The kind of man who should have recognized fear when he saw it. "What's this, honey? This is Ainsley Monroe." Wren pointed to the drawing. "She's 8 years old. She's been missing for 3 weeks. She went to Westside Elementary, and I know where she is. I know who took her. My mom's boyfriend Garrett has her picture in his wallet, and he worked at that school, and he transferred right after she disappeared, and I heard him on the phone talking about, The man held up his hand, another stop gesture. Wren's words caught in her throat like broken glass. "Honey." Frank's voice was gentle but dismissive. Kids your age have big imaginations. That's a nice drawing, but it's not my imagination. Wren's voice cracked. Please, I'm not making this up. He hurt me. She pulled up her left sleeve, showed the cigarette burn. 9 days old, circular, deliberate. This is from a cigarette. He did this because I asked about Ainsley. And he's going to... Margaret Buchanan touched her husband's arm, leaned in, whispered but not quiet enough. Poor thing, probably going through the divorce. Kids process things differently. They make up stories to cope. Frank nodded, turned back to Wren with that same gentle dismissal. Sweetheart, where's your mother? She's in the car. But she doesn't. You should go back to your mother. I'm sure she's worried. But she's not worried. Wren's hands shook. The drawing trembled. That's the problem. She doesn't believe me. Nobody believes me. That's why I'm trying to tell someone else. Please, just look at this. Her voice dropped to a whisper. Please, Margaret folded the church bulletin. Looked away. Frank turned back to his coffee. Discussion over. Decision made. Another adult who wouldn't listen. Wren folded the drawing carefully, along the same creases it already had. Put it back in her backpack. Blinked hard. Refused to cry. Crying made adults uncomfortable. Made them dismiss you faster. She'd learned that months ago. She walked away. 14 steps to the next table. Counting helped. Made the world feel more controllable when everything was spinning apart. Table number 7, solo diner, male, mid-30s, khakis and a polo shirt, laptop open, phone face down beside his coffee. The universal sign of someone who didn't want to be bothered. But Wren was running out of options. Garrett would exit that bathroom any minute. She approached from the side, waited until he looked up, made eye contact. A trick Dr. Ramirez taught her before she stopped being helpful. Eye contact makes people acknowledge you as human. Excuse me, sir. The man glanced up, annoyed, already looking back at his screen. Sir, I need help. It's about a missing girl. I have information and nobody will listen and... She pulled out the newspaper clipping. 3 weeks old, local section, Ainsley Monroe 8. Missing since August 31st, search continues. The article had a photo, smaller than the one Wren had seen in Garrett's wallet, but similar enough. Same girl, same smile, same eyes that would never smile again if nobody listened. The man checked his watch, expensive, silver. The kind that meant he had places to be, important places, more important than a 7-year-old girl who might be bleeding out in a storage unit somewhere while adults check their watches. Kid. His voice was flat, bored. I don't have time for this. Go play or whatever. He stood, grabbed his laptop, brushed past Wren, actually made physical contact. His elbow hit her shoulder. She stumbled, caught herself on the edge of the booth. The newspaper clipping fell, drifted to the floor. The man kept walking, didn't look back, didn't apologize. Just gone. Wren bent down, picked up the clipping. The crease was deeper now. Ainsley's face folded in half. Wren smoothed it, returned it to her backpack. Felt something breaking inside her chest. Not her heart. That had broken months ago. Something deeper. Something that held her together when everything else fell apart. Hope. One more try. One last attempt. Then she'd give up. Go back to the car. Let Garrett take her home. Let him lock her in that basement. Let September nights get cold. Let the problem solve itself. Just like he'd said on the phone 3 weeks ago. The register, front of the diner, Grace Porter, 52 years old, 20 years waitressing at Bear's Den, silver cross necklace, blessed license plate on her Ford Focus outside, sang in the choir at Oak Ridge Community Church. The kind of woman who should care about children. Wren approached slowly. Grace was counting receipts, organizing them by table number. Efficient, practiced. The movements of someone who'd done this 10,000 times. Miss Grace. Grace looked up, smiled. The professional smile, the customer service smile, the smile that didn't reach her eyes. Hi there, sweetie. You need something? Wren took a breath. This was it. Last chance. Last adult. Last hope. Miss Grace, I need help. My name is Wren Hayes. I'm 7 years old. My mom's boyfriend Garrett is hurting me. She pulled up her sleeve, showed the burn, showed the bruises on her wrist. Rope marks from 2 weeks ago when he'd tied her to the bed frame because she tried to run away. And he has a picture of Ainsley Monroe in his wallet, the missing girl. He worked at her school. He transferred right after she disappeared. And I heard him on the phone talking about Grace's expression shifted. The smile faded, replaced by something harder, something that looked like judgment. She came around the register, knelt down. For a moment, Wren felt relief. An adult was taking her seriously. An adult was listening, then Grace spoke. Honey, her voice was sugar sweet, sticky, suffocating. Bearing false witness is a sin. I'm not lying, Wren's voice broke. I swear I'm not. Grace put her hand on Wren's shoulder. Squeezed, not comforting, controlling. Garrett Sloan is a good Christian man. He's been a deacon at our church for 6 years. He leads the Wednesday night men's Bible study. He volunteers with disadvantaged children. He's helping your mama when she needs it most. And you're standing here telling lies about him. They're not lies. Tears now. Wren couldn't stop them. Please, please, just look at the evidence. Look at my arm. Look at, you need to go home. Grace stood up, towered over her. And you need to ask Jesus to forgive you for bearing false witness. It's a sin, Wren, a serious sin. And if you keep telling these stories about that nice man who's trying to help your mother well. Grace shook her head. That's between you and the Lord. She patted Wren's head. Dismissive, condescending, then walked away. Back to the register. Back to counting receipts. Back to not caring. Wren stood there for 5 seconds, maybe 6, frozen, not from fear, from something deeper, from the realization that she'd just tried to tell 4 different adults about being abused, and all 4 had sent her away. 4 rejections, 4 failures, 4 variations of nobody believes me. Her body started shaking, not sobbing, not crying, something worse, something that felt like her insides were collapsing, like her bones were made of paper and someone had lit a match, like she was disappearing and nobody noticed. Nobody cared. Nobody would remember her name when Garrett finally decided she was too much trouble and the problem needed to solve itself. Wren's eyes swept the diner one last time, desperate, drowning, looking for anything, anyone. And then she saw them. Back booth, left corner, commanding view of both the front door and kitchen. 8 men, leather vests, patches, Hell's Angels, Pacific Northwest, Sergeant-at-Arms, skulls with wings, names stitched into the back. Brothers who didn't come home. The kind of men children were taught to fear. The kind of men who looked exactly like the monsters adults warned about. But Wren had learned something in the past 7 months. Something about monsters and men. Something about appearances and reality. She'd learned that the monster in her house wore khakis and glasses and a friendly smile. The monster went to church, volunteered with youth groups, fixed computers for elementary schools, looked exactly like someone safe. So maybe, just maybe, the scary-looking men were actually safe, and the safe-looking man was actually scary. Wren had nothing left to lose. She started walking toward the back booth, 47 feet from where she stood to where they sat. 47 feet that felt like 47 miles. Each step deliberate, each breath counted. Her right foot dragged slightly. Exhaustion, fear, malnutrition, all of it weighing her down. Her worn sneakers made soft squeaking sounds. Squeak, shuffle, uneven rhythm. The sound of someone falling apart one step at a time. She kept her head down but eyes up. Watched them from under her eyebrows. Didn't make direct eye contact yet. That felt too aggressive, too dangerous. Like approaching a pack of wolves. Show respect. Show submission. Don't threaten. 8 men, all leather and scars and tattoos. The biggest one sat in the center, 6'2" at least, salt and pepper beard, full and maintained. 3-inch scar through his left eyebrow, tattoos covering his arms, a full sleeve of names on his right arm, brothers who didn't come home. His left forearm showed text in Gothic script. Wren couldn't read it from this distance, but she would learn it later. Defend the weak and the fatherless. Uphold the cause of the poor and oppressed. His black leather vest carried patches that made parents pull children closer. Hell's Angels, Pacific Northwest, Sergeant-at-Arms, A skull with wings, more names stitched into the back. Patches that told stories of violence and loyalty and brotherhood, and things Wren didn't understand but somehow felt in her bones. He had his coffee cup halfway to his lips, reading a newspaper. Obituaries section, looking for names. A weekly ritual she'd learn about later, looking for veterans who died alone, making sure someone remembered. Wren paused. 8 feet away now, close enough to see details. The man's hands were scarred, knuckles that had been broken and healed wrong. Burn marks on his forearms, the kind from engine grease and exhaust pipes and years of hard living. But his eyes, when he looked up, when he saw her, his eyes weren't hard, weren't cruel. They were seeing. Old sad. The kind of sad that came from seeing too much and being unable to fix it all. Wren took another step, another 5 feet away, her backpack pressed against her chest like a shield, both arms wrapped around it, protective, defensive, ready to run then if this went wrong. She glanced back at the bathroom. The door was still closed. Garrett was still inside. But how much longer? 1 minute, 2, decision time. Wren's lips moved, but no sound came out. Her throat was too tight, too dry, too scared. She swallowed, the sound audible even from 5 feet away. Tried again. Nobody believes me. 3 words, barely above a whisper, but they hit the table like a gunshot. All 8 men went still, coffee cups frozen, and conversation stopped. Every eye on her. 4 seconds of silence. Just the distant sizzle of the griddle. Someone's fork scraping a plate. The jukebox playing something that didn't matter. Time stretched, compressed, became something else entirely. Wren took a shaky breath. Her voice cracked. Please, I know what everyone sees. I know I'm just a kid and he's an adult and everyone trusts him. But please, please listen. 8 words, spoken in 2 attempts, each one costing everything she had left. The man with the scar, through his eyebrows, slowly put down his coffee cup, folded his newspaper, didn't look away from her. Then he did something Wren didn't expect, something no adult had done in 7 months. He believed her, not because of evidence, not because of proof, not because she'd convinced him with arguments or articles or drawings, but because of something in her eyes, something he recognized, something he'd seen before in another pair of eyes belonging to another little girl who'd whispered, "Nobody believes me," 6 years ago, in a different place at a different time. His daughter, Evangeline, 6 years old, kidnapped from a playground by a family friend, found alive 9 days later, traumatized but surviving. The kidnapper got 12 years, served 7, and KL Reaper Thorne had dedicated every day since to protecting children. Every child he saw was Evangeline. Every cry for help was a chance to do what he couldn't do fast enough 6 years ago. He slid out of the booth, moved slowly, deliberately, didn't want to startle her. His movements were calm, controlled, non-threatening. He put his coffee mug aside, made eye contact with Wren, held it, didn't look away. Then he dropped to one knee on the diner floor, put himself at her eye level on, this 6'2" scarred biker making himself small, non-threatening, accessible, equal. The kind of respect adults rarely show children, especially frightened ones. "I believe you, daughter." 4 words, simple, direct, immediate. No questions, no doubt, no demands for proof before belief. Just belief, just trust. Just I see you and I hear you and you matter. Wren's eyes went wide, like she'd been struck, like those 4 words hit harder than any of Garrett's fists. Because violence made sense. Violence was familiar. But kindness from a stranger, from someone who looked scary, that was incomprehensible. Reaper extended his right hand, palm up, open, an offering. Not a demand, didn't reach for her, let her decide. Let her choose, let her have control, in a life where control had been stripped away 7 months ago. His other hand went to his chest, over his heart, over dog tags she couldn't see but could hear faintly clinking under his shirt. Old military gesture. My word, my honor, my life. I swear. Behind him, the 7 other bikers at the booth had all gone silent, watching. They'd seen this body language before. Reaper shifting into protection mode. When Reaper knelt like this, it meant a child was in danger. It meant the Brotherhood was about to mobilize. It meant someone was going to pay. One of them, Jasper Ironside Kane, 43, former Marine, 6 years practicing law before he joined the club, slid out of the booth on the other side, creating a physical barrier between Wren and the rest of the diner. Without a word spoken, without a signal given, the club was forming a protective semicircle. Reaper's eyes never left Wren's face. His voice dropped even lower. Meant only for her. Intimate. Safe. The voice of someone who understood. You're safe now, whatever it is, we'll handle it. But first, tell me your name. Wren's hand, still clutching her backpack, loosened slightly. She hadn't taken Reaper's offered hand yet, but she hadn't run either. Standing in that space between hope and fear, between trust and trauma, between one life and another. Her voice was shaking, but words came easier now. Someone was listening, someone believed, someone cared. Wren, Wren Hayes, and he's going to take me away like he took Ainsley. Reaper's jaw tightened, micro-expression, barely visible. But there, who's Ainsley Monroe? The missing girl, on the news, 3 weeks missing. Wren's words tumbled faster now, desperate, terrified, hopeful. My mom's boyfriend Garrett has her picture in his wallet. I told my teacher, I told my neighbor, I told the police non-emergency line. Nobody listened. They said I'm making it up because of the divorce. But I'm not. I'm not lying. I'm not crazy. I swear I'm not. Jasper already had his phone out, pulling up news about Ainsley Monroe. The other brothers were shifting, energy changing, predatory focus engaging. 8 men who'd seen combat, who'd seen evil, who'd learned to recognize predators in human skin. And every instinct was screaming that this 7-year-old girl was telling the truth. Garrett locks me in my room. Wren's voice dropped. Shame entering. At night, every night, with a padlock on the outside. He put a lock on our refrigerator so I can't eat unless he says. She touched her left arm where the sleeve covered it. He hurt me. On purpose. With a cigarette. Because I asked about Ainsley's photo. She looked at Reaper with eyes that had seen too much. And he says nobody will believe me because I'm just a troubled kid from a broken home. Pause. 4 seconds. Wren's voice barely a whisper. And he's right. Nobody did. Until you. One of the brothers. Father Tobias St. Graves, 61, former Catholic priest. Left the priesthood after trying to expose abuse the diocese covered up. Now club chaplain. Cursed under his breath. Jesus Christ. Another. Silas Medic Holt, 47, former Army combat medic. Now paramedic with Oak Ridge Fire Department. Leaned forward, professional voice, gentle but firm. Sweetheart, I need to see your arm. I'm a paramedic. I just want to help. Is that okay? Wren looked at Reaper. Reaper nodded, encouraging. It's okay, daughter. Medic's good people. He won't hurt you. Wren slowly, carefully, pulled up her left sleeve. The mark on her arm was 9 days old, small, circular, perfectly round. The unmistakable signature of a lit cigarette pressed deliberately into human flesh. The skin was still healing, pink and angry. The kind of wound that would scar permanently. The kind of wound that couldn't be explained away as accidental. Medic's face went stone cold. He photographed it with his phone. No asking permission. Evidence. Documentation. The kind that holds up in court. His voice was flat, clinical. Controlled rage, cigarette burn, intentional, approximately 9 days old, inconsistent with any accidental injury pattern. Wren pulled up her right pant leg, showed the bruise on her shin, yellow-green fade, 13 days old, tendies, rectangular shape, consistent with being kicked, hard, the kind of kick that came from adult strength directed at a 47-pound child, showed the scratches on the back of her hands, 3 parallel lines, scabbed over, 5 days healing, the kind of scratches from being shoved face first into rough concrete or brick, the kind that happened when someone decided you needed to learn a lesson about asking questions. Medic photographed everything. Timestamp, geotag, cataloging abuse in pixels and metadata, building a case one image at a time. Ren, Reaper's voice was gentle but urgent. Where's Garrett right now? Ren's eyes darted to the bathroom. In there. He brought me and my mom for family breakfast. Mom's in the car fixing her makeup. I have maybe 3 minutes before he comes out. Reaper's expression shifted. Calculation, strategy, assessment. How long has he been hurting you? 7 months. Since he moved in. But it got bad 3 weeks ago, after I saw Ainsley's picture. What else did you see? What else do you know? Ren's voice broke. I heard him on the phone 3 weeks ago. He was in his office. I was in the bathroom. The vent carries sound. She dropped to exact mimicry of an adult male voice. Perfect recall. The way traumatized children remember everything. The kid's a problem. Too smart. Keeps asking questions about the photo. I've got maybe 4 or 5 weeks before I need to move on. The entire booth went silent. 7 bikers staring at a 7-year-old who just described a predator planning an exit strategy, who just repeated words that meant premeditation. That meant this wasn't impulse, wasn't anger, was calculated, methodical, the work of someone who'd done this before. He said more. Ren whispered, tears finally falling. He said just like before. They'll rule it exposure or accident. Kid wanders off, gets lost. September nights get cold up here. The problem solves itself. Father Tobias made the sign of the cross, unconscious gesture, old habit, praying for a child who'd been failed by everyone who should have protected her. He said the Monroe family would get $180,000. Ren continued, and he made $47,000 on the back end. He said this time he's going for more. He said, voice breaking completely now. He said he's done this before and nobody ever catches him because nobody believes kids. Reaper's hand, still extended toward Ren, was shaking now, not from fear, from rage being controlled with every ounce of discipline he possessed. 20 years in the Hells Angels, 8 years in the Army before that. He'd learned control, how to channel violence into purpose, how to be dangerous in the right ways at the right times, but this tested every bit of that control. He took a slow breath. When he spoke, his voice had the weight of military oath, the solemnity of funeral vows, the gravity of promises made over graves. Ren Hayes, I'm K.O. Thorne. People call me Reaper. These are my brothers. Every single one of us has served. Military, police, fire, medical. Every single one of us has taken an oath to protect those who cannot protect themselves. He glanced at his brothers. They nodded, unified. One mind, one purpose. That oath doesn't expire. It doesn't care about patches or what people think we are. You came to the right place, daughter. We're going to make sure you're safe. We're going to make sure Ainsley's safe. And we're going to make sure Garrett Sloan never hurts another child again. Pause. Eye contact. Unwavering. That's a promise from me to you, on my honor as a father, as a soldier, as a man. His voice dropped to steel. And unlike every other adult who failed you today, I keep my promises. Reaper placed his hand on Ren's shoulder, gentle but firm, the weight of protection. Then he did something else, something that made everyone in the diner stop and stare. He took off his Hells Angels vest, removed it slowly, carefully. The leather worn soft from years of wear, the patches telling stories of brotherhood and loss and loyalty. The weight of it significant, not just clothing, identity, family, everything the club represented. He wrapped it around Ren's shoulders. It was huge on her, drowning her. The bottom edge hit her knees. The shoulders hung past her elbows. She looked tiny inside it, fragile. A 47-pound 7-year-old wrapped in leather in patches that meant protection. That meant family. That meant nobody touches her now. You wear this right now in here. Reaper's voice was firm. That means you're under our protection. Anybody wants to get to you, they go through all of us. Ren, drowning in leather and patches, finally started crying. Not silent tears anymore. Full sobs. The kind of crying that only came when you'd been holding it in for months. When you'd been strong for so long, and someone finally said, I believe you and I've got you and you're safe now. The kind of crying that 7-year-olds should be allowed to do without judgment, without shame, without adults telling them to be quiet or calm down, or stop making a scene. Reaper pulled her into a hug. This 6'2" scarred biker holding a 47-pound 7-year-old who'd stopped believing in protection until 90 seconds ago. His arms around her, safe, solid, unmovable. The kind of hug that said nothing will hurt you while I'm here. The kind fathers give daughters. The kind Wren hadn't felt since her own father left 11 months ago. And then a man walked out of the bathroom. Garrett Sloan, 41 years old, 5'11", 182 pounds, clean cut and average. The kind of average that made him invisible. Khakis, polo shirt with the school district logo embroidered on the chest, brown leather belt, Timex watch, glasses with thin metal frames, Nike sneakers always clean, hair always combed, smile always ready. He looked like every parent's idea of a safe adult, elementary school IT coordinator, church deacon, youth soccer coach, big brothers, big sisters volunteer. The kind of man trusted with keys to classrooms. The kind of man who knew which kids were vulnerable, which ones had absent fathers and tired mothers, and no one paying close attention. The kind of predator who'd perfected the art of looking harmless. He saw Wren wearing a Hells Angels vest, surrounded by 8 bikers, and his face went white, then red, then something else, something that looked like calculation, like he was already running through scenarios, through explanations, through exits. He took one step toward them, stopped when Reaper stood up, put himself between Garrett and Wren, didn't say a word, just stood there. 6'2" of immovable object. 7 other bikers stood with him, a wall of leather and muscle and scars and purpose. Garrett stopped walking. His expression shifted. Confusion, then calculation, then forced calm, the mask sliding back into place. The practiced performance of innocence. Wren. Garrett's voice was measured, educated, the appropriate level of concern. "What are you doing? Your mother's worried. We need to go." Wren pressed herself against Reaper's leg, clutched the leather vest tighter, small hands disappearing into sleeves. The universal body language of a frightened child seeking protection from the person meant to protect them. "She's staying with us." Reaper's voice was quiet, controlled, the kind of quiet that was more dangerous than shouting. Garrett's smile was practiced, placating, the smile of someone used to talking his way out of situations. "I appreciate your concern, gentlemen. I really do. But Wren's going through a difficult phase right now. Her parents divorced 11 months ago and she's been acting out, saying things that aren't true. Her counselor has documented it. It's all very concerning and we're getting her the help she needs." Jasper spoke from Garrett's left. Former Marine captain, 6 years practicing law, voice like granite. His counselor documented that "You're a predator." Garrett's expression flickered. Just for a second. Micro-expression. Barely visible. But there, the mask slipping for a fraction of time before sliding back into place. "I don't know what Wren told you, but I work with children every day. I'm an elementary school IT coordinator. I know how kids process trauma." His voice was patient, understanding, the voice of someone reasonable dealing with the unreasonable people. "Wren's struggling with her father's absence. She's created some elaborate fantasies. It's heartbreaking but not uncommon. Her therapist says it's a coping mechanism." The answer was too smooth, too practiced, too ready, like he'd rehearsed it, like he'd known this moment would come eventually and he'd prepared for it. Had his story straight, had his documentation, had his credibility armor-plated and ready. Medic spoke. Flat voice, zero emotion. Like the burn mark on her arm, Garrett didn't miss a beat. Another rehearsed response. "Unfortunately, Wren's been having behavioral issues, hurting herself to get attention. It's heartbreaking, truly. But her therapist confirmed it's not uncommon in children of divorce. We're working on getting her more intensive help, possibly inpatient treatment if it continues." Threat disguised as concern. Wren heard it, the message underneath. "Behave or I'll have you institutionalized, locked up, medicated, where your words mean nothing because you're crazy, where nobody will ever believe you again." Reaper recognized it too. 20 years in the club. He knew manipulation, knew how predators worked, knew the difference between innocent confusion and calculated defense. This man was calculating every word, every expression, every gesture, performance art perfected over years. And Ainsley Monroe Reaper asked, voice still quiet, still controlled, the 8-year-old girl who's been missing for 3 weeks. Ren says you have her photo in your wallet. Garrett actually laughed. The laugh was perfect, confused, innocent, a little amused even. He pulled out his wallet, opened it, showed a photo. School picture, blue cloudy background, young girl smiling. I have photos of all my students. I print them at the beginning of the year. It helps me remember names when I'm working with different schools in the district. This is Bryn Aldridge. She's a 3rd grader at Oak Ridge Elementary. I helped her with a computer login issue last week. See? He pulled out his phone, swiped, showed a different photo. Same girl, standing with a woman who looked like her mother. School event, back to school night banner visible in the background. This is Bryn with her mom at back to school night. 3 weeks ago. Ren's face crumpled. Watching her proof dissolve. Watching her evidence turn to nothing. The girl looked similar to Ainsley. Same age, same hair color, but different. The eyes were wrong. The smile was wrong. Everything was wrong. Garrett had an answer for everything. Proof, documentation, credibility. The armor of respectability. The kind that made 7-year-olds look crazy and 41-year-old predators look like victims of false accusations. Her small hands gripped Reaper's vest tighter. The leather suddenly felt heavier, like it was the only thing keeping her from dissolving completely, from vanishing into the floor. Maybe she was crazy. Maybe Dr. Ramirez was right. Maybe the divorce had broken something in her brain. Maybe the girl in Garrett's wallet really was Bryn Aldridge and not Ainsley Monroe. Maybe the phone call she'd overheard was about work and not about murder. Maybe nobody believed her because there was nothing to believe. Her vision blurred, not from tears, from something worse, from her sense of reality fragmenting, from the ground shifting under her feet, from 7 months of gaslighting finally achieving what Garrett had always wanted. Complete doubt, total capitulation. No. Reaper's voice, quiet, meant only for her. He knelt beside her again. Eye level, his hand on her shoulder. Steady, anchoring. Ren, look at me. She did. His eyes were storm gray, weathered. The kind of eyes that had seen combat and loss and evil in human form. Eyes that knew how predators operated, how they lied, how they manipulated, how they used truth to hide bigger lies. You know what you saw, you know what you heard. Don't let him take that from you. But the photo, her voice was barely a whisper, barely breath. That's not Ainsley. That's a different girl. Maybe I was wrong. Maybe he switched the photo. Reaper's voice was certain, absolute. Maybe he knew you saw it and replaced it. Maybe he's been planning for this moment since the day you asked him about it. Predators don't survive by being careless daughter. They survive by being 3 steps ahead. Garrett's voice cut across the diner. Smooth, concerned, the perfect performance. I think we're done here. Ren, your mother is waiting. These gentlemen have been very kind, but we need to go home now. He took a step forward. Reaper stood, blocked him. The 7 other bikers shifted, positions changing, creating a tighter circle, a wall between Garrett and Ren. Human barrier, unmovable. This man was dangerous, not because he looked dangerous, because he looked safe. Ren, Garrett's voice had an edge now, barely perceptible. But there, the sound of someone whose patience was wearing thin, whose mask was getting heavy. We're leaving. Now. The diner had gone quiet. 23 people watching, some with phones out, recording, others just staring. The kind of audience that could go either way. Could side with the respectable-looking man in khakis. Could side with the scary bikers. Could decide this was none of their business and look away. Ren flinched at Garrett's tone. 7 months of conditioning. Pavlovian response. That voice meant consequences. Meant basement. Meant locked doors, an empty stomach, and cigarette burns, and worse things she didn't have words for. But she didn't move. Stayed pressed against Reaper's leg. Stayed wrapped in leather that smelled like motor oil and road dust, and something else. Something that felt like safety, even though she barely knew what that word meant anymore. "Ren's staying with us," Reaper repeated, tone unchanged. "Until the police arrive. They can sort this out." Garrett's smile tightened, muscles around his eyes, his jaw, micro-expressions of someone fighting for control. "That's unnecessary. I'm her mother's boyfriend. I have every legal right." "You have no legal rights to this child," Jasper interrupted. "Former Marine captain, former lawyer. Voice like a judge pronouncing sentence. You're not married to her mother. You haven't adopted her. You have zero custody, zero authority. And if you attempt to remove her against her will while she's expressing clear fear of you, that's kidnapping under Oregon Revised Statute 163.225. Garrett's jaw tightened. "This is ridiculous." He raised his voice, not shouting, but projecting, making sure everyone heard, making sure witnesses registered his reasonableness, his victimhood. "Jennifer." He called toward the parking lot, toward the silver Toyota Camry where Ren's mother sat fixing makeup that didn't need fixing, avoiding situations that made her uncomfortable, choosing ignorance because knowledge meant responsibility, and responsibility meant choosing between her daughter and her boyfriend, and she'd already made that choice 3 weeks ago when Ren first tried to tell her. "Jennifer, your daughter is causing a scene with these men. You need to come get her." A woman appeared in the diner entrance, mid-30s, exhausted looking. Joanna Hayes, not Jennifer. Garrett had gotten her name wrong. Small slip, but revealing. He'd been with her 7 months and still couldn't remember her name under pressure. Joanna wore jeans and a sweater, clean but dated, the kind of clothes bought years ago when money was less tight, before the divorce, before the 2 part-time jobs, before Garrett came along offering help that turned into chains. She saw Ren, saw the bikers, saw the leather vest drowning her daughter. Her face went pale, then red, embarrassment, fear, confusion, all of it warring on her features. "Ren." Her voice was sharp, the voice of a mother at the end of her rope. "What are you doing? Come here right now. Stop bothering these people." "Joanna." Reaper's voice was gentle, respectful, not the voice he'd used with Garrett. "Ma'am, your daughter has some serious concerns about Mr. Sloan. We think you should hear her out, actually hear her." Without him in the room, Joanna's expression shifted to frustration, defensive. 7 months of Garrett in her ear. 7 months of he's helping us, and Ren's just struggling with the divorce, and kids say things when they're hurting. 7 months of choosing the easy lie over the hard truth. She's been saying things, making up stories. She looked at Garrett, seeking confirmation, seeking reassurance. Her counselor said her counselor saw what Garrett wanted her to see. Reaper interrupted, carefully. "Did you see the burn on Ren's arm? Actually see it, or did Garrett explain it before you could look?" Joanna hesitated. Small pause. Revealing. Ren hurt herself. He told me. She's been having behavioral issues, hurting herself to get attention. We're working with her therapist on it." "That's what Garrett told you," Reaper said. Not a question. Statement. "But Ren says Garrett marked her deliberately, that he's planning to hurt her, that he has evidence about other missing children." "Ren says a lot of things lately." Joanna's voice cracked, breaking under the weight of 7 months. 7 months of manipulation. 7 months of being told her daughter was disturbed, that she needed help, that Garrett was the solution, not the problem. She says Garrett locks her in her room. She says Garrett won't let her eat. She says Garrett is planning to kill her. But none of it's true. Her voice rose. Defensive, desperate. "Garrett's been so good to us. When I couldn't make rent, when the car needed repairs, when I was working 16-hour days and couldn't be home, he stepped up. He helped. Why would Ren make him the villain?" She looked at Reaper with genuine confusion. "Why would she do that, ma'am?" Medic spoke up. Former Army combat medic, current paramedic, voice professional, clinical. "I'm a paramedic, 15 years emergency medicine. I've seen hundreds of abuse cases. The injury on Ren's arm is consistent with a deliberate cigarette burn. The bruising on her shin is consistent with being kicked by an adult. The scratches on her hands are consistent with being shoved into rough surfaces. These aren't self-inflicted injuries. The patterns don't match. Joanna's eyes filled with tears. No, no, you don't understand. Ren's therapist said this is common. Kids hurting themselves when they're in distress. The divorce was hard on her. She's angry. She's acting out. Garrett would never, Mom. Ren's voice was so small, so broken. Please, please believe me. Joanna looked at her daughter. Actually looked. For the first time in how long, weeks, months, saw the weight loss, saw the dark circles, saw the fear, raw and real and undeniable. For 3 seconds, something shifted in Joanna's eyes. Recognition, horror, the beginning of understanding. The moment a mother realizes she's been failing her child, that she's been choosing comfort over truth, that she's been complicit. Then Garrett put his hand on Joanna's arm, gentle, possessive, controlling, and the moment passed. Joanna, his voice was soft, soothing, the voice he'd used when he first moved in, when he was still pretending. We're going home. Ren's confused. These men mean well, but they don't understand the situation. Let's go. We'll talk to Dr. Ramirez on Monday. Get Ren the help she needs. He'd used the wrong name again. Called Ren by a boy's name earlier. Small cracks. But Joanna didn't notice. Or didn't want to notice. She nodded. Wiped her eyes, looked at Ren with a mixture of love and exhaustion and something that looked like resignation. Ren, we're going home. Come here. She held out her hand. Come on, baby. This has gone far enough. And Ren understood. In that moment, standing in a diner surrounded by strangers who believed her and family who didn't. She understood that sometimes the people who were supposed to protect you were the ones you needed protecting from. That sometimes mothers chose wrong. That sometimes love wasn't enough. That sometimes you had to save yourself because nobody else would. I can't. Ren's voice was steady now. Certain. If I go home with him, I'm going to die. He's going to make it look like an accident. September nights get cold. The problem solves itself. That's what he said on the phone. Those were his exact words. Garrett's expression finally cracked, the mask dropping completely. His eyes went cold, calculating, dead. The eyes of someone doing mental arithmetic, weighing options, evaluating threats, planning next moves. He looked at Joanna. This is insane, Joe. These criminals are filling her head with paranoid nonsense. We're leaving. If Ren wants to stay with gang members, fine. But when Child Protective Services shows up asking why you abandoned your daughter with Hell's Angels, you can explain it to them. Threat. Thinly veiled. Joanna heard it. Her face crumpled. The implication clear. Leave Ren here and Garrett calls CPS. Reports Joanna as unfit. Uses the system against her. Takes everything. Ren, please. Joanna's voice was begging now. Desperate. Please just come home. Don't make this harder. Don't make me choose. But you already chose. Ren's voice was quiet. Matter of fact. The voice of a child who'd grown up too fast. You chose him 3 weeks ago when I first told you about Ainsley. You chose him every night you let him lock me in the basement. You chose him every time I was hungry, and you pretended not to notice the refrigerator lock. You already chose Mom. You just don't want to admit it. Joanna made a sound. Not quite a sob, not quite a gasp. The sound of something breaking inside. Of a truth she'd been avoiding, finally forcing its way into her consciousness, whether she wanted it there or not. And that's when the first motorcycle pulled into the parking lot. Then another. Then 5 more. The rumble started distant, like thunder on the horizon, then growing, building. A roar that shook the diner windows, that rattled plates on tables, that made the floor vibrate. That announced arrival with the subtlety of an earthquake. 20 motorcycles became 40, 40 became 80, chrome and leather and exhaust and power. Hell's Angels, Pacific Northwest chapter. Responding to a brother's call, responding to Reaper's voice on the phone 15 minutes ago saying, I need everyone. Now, 7-year-old girl about to be taken by her abuser. Everyone. And everyone came. They pulled into the parking lot with military precision, rows forming, engines cutting, one by one. The roar diminishing to rumble, rumble diminishing to idle, idle diminishing to silence. 87 motorcycles, 87 riders, all leather and patches and purpose. Garrett's face went white. actually drained of color, bloodless, the face of someone realizing the situation had spiraled beyond control, beyond manipulation, beyond anything he could talk his way out of. The bikers dismounted, slow, deliberate, no rushing, no shouting, no aggression, just presence, just standing, just creating a wall between Garrett and the parking lot exit, between Garrett and his car, between Garrett and escape, not threatening, not illegal, just standing on public property, in a public parking lot, exercising their right to exist in space. But the message was clear, unmistakable. You're not leaving with that child. Victor King Cross stepped through the diner entrance. 60 years old, gray beard to his chest, patches reading president across his back. 26 years with the club, former Army Ranger. 3 wars, too many deployments. Eyes that had seen every kind of evil humans could inflict on each other and decided that some battles never ended, that some wars followed you home, that some oaths lasted forever. He looked at Reaper, at Wren wrapped in Reaper's vest, at Garrett Sloan standing with his hand on Joanna's arm, possessive, controlling, obvious to anyone who knew what to look for, at the other patrons in the diner, phones out, filming, watching, creating the kind of witnesses that made violence impossible but made justice visible. Brother King's voice was quiet, gravelly, like stones in a river. Situation report, 7-year-old victim. Reaper's voice was steady, professional, the voice of someone giving mission briefings. Multiple documented injuries, overheard abuser planning her disappearance. Previous victim named Ainsley Monroe. Missing 3 weeks. Mother's been manipulated into believing daughter's claims are fantasies. Abuser is school district employee with access to children. Church deacon, youth volunteer, textbook predator using institutional credibility as cover. King nodded once, turned to Garrett. His eyes were the kind of gray that came from smoke and ash and things burning that couldn't be unburned. Mr. Sloan, as if Garrett had regained some composure. Armor back in place. This is harassment. I'm calling the police. Please do. King's voice was calm, patient. We already did. They're approximately 4 minutes out. You're welcome to wait with us. Garrett's jaw tightened, muscles working, grinding teeth. He looked at Joanna. We don't have to stay here and be accused by a child and a gang of criminals. Ma'am, King addressed Joanna directly, voice gentler now. Respectful. My name is Victor Cross. I'm president of the Hells Angels Pacific Northwest chapter. I'm also a father of 3 daughters and a grandfather of 7. I've worked with child advocacy organizations for 15 years. I'm asking you, parent to parent, just listen to your daughter. That's all. Just listen. Joanna's face was wet with tears. I don't know what to believe anymore. Then let us help you find the truth, King said. Not a demand, an offer. Let us bring in people who know how to evaluate these situations. Medical professionals, police, social workers, people whose job is protecting children. Let them look at the evidence. Let them decide. If your daughter's lying, that'll become clear. If she's not, his pause was weighted, significant. If she's not, then you need to know that too. Joanna looked at Garrett, seeking guidance, seeking permission. 7 months of conditioning, of being told she couldn't trust her own judgment, of being convinced she needed him to make decisions. Garrett's expression was stone, cold, the warmth completely gone, the mask abandoned, no point maintaining it anymore. Fine. Call whoever you want. I have nothing to hide. My lawyer will be here within the hour. And when this is over, when they determine Wren's been making false allegations, we're pressing charges against all of you for harassment, for defamation, for parental interference, empty threats, but delivered with conviction. The bluff of someone whose entire life was built on bluffing, on appearing more powerful than he was, on using systems and institutions and the benefit of doubt that society gave to men who looked like him. Jasper was already on his phone, not calling police. They were coming, calling someone else. Documentation, his voice low but audible. Father Mike, need you to start witness statements. Everyone who saw Wren try to tell, everyone who dismissed her. Get names, get quotes, build the timeline. Father Tobias was moving through the diner, Approaching the Harrison family. Booth 3. The father who'd waved ran away. Professional voice, calm. Sir, I'm just documenting what happened here this morning. Did this child approach you? The father looked uncomfortable. Nervous. Yeah. We were eating. She came up, but we were having family time. I told her to find her parents. Did she try to tell you something? Try to show you something I don't know? I didn't let her talk. We wanted privacy. Father Tobias wrote it down. Moved to the counter, to Frank and Margaret Buchanan, the elderly couple, retired police officer and wife. Margaret looked ashamed. She showed us a drawing of a little girl, said it was someone missing. I thought she was making up stories. You know how kids are. Did you ask her any questions about it? Did you examine the drawing? Did you? No, Margaret's voice broke. I told my husband she was bothering us. Frank told her to go away. Oh, God. Frank's hands shook slightly. I'm a retired police officer. 23 years Seattle PD. I should have listened. I should have. He couldn't finish. Just shook his head. Decades of training, decades of experience. And he'd failed the most basic test. Believe the victim, especially when the victim is a child. Father Tobias moved to Grace Porter, the waitress. She stood behind the register, arms crossed, defensive, righteous. I did what I thought was right. Grace's voice was firm. That child's been causing problems for that nice man who's trying to help her mother. I told her to stop lying. It's a sin to bear false witness. You called her a liar. Father Tobias's voice was flat. Statement, not question. I called her what she was acting like. Garrett Sloan is a good Christian man, deacon at Oak Ridge Community Church. Helps with the youth group. Volunteers with disadvantaged kids. And this troubled child keeps making up stories because she's angry about her parents' divorce. You know Garrett personally. You've known him how long? Everyone at church knows Garrett. 6 years he's been a member. Leads the Wednesday night men's Bible study. He's a pillar of the community. Father Tobias wrote it all down. Every word, every dismissal, every moment of system failure wrapped in the authority of age, of experience, of faith, of respectability. The kind of armor predators built over years, over decades. The kind that made 7-year-olds look crazy and made 41-year-old monsters look like saints. Meanwhile, Rowan Ghost Drake, 29 years old, youngest of the core group, computer forensics expert for a Seattle tech company, had his laptop out at one of the tables, screen glowing, fingers flying, pulling everything I can access legally. Ghost's voice was focused, intense. News reports on Ainsley Monroe, Garrett Sloan's employment history, public records, social media, digital footprints, everything. His screen filled with information. Articles, photos, timelines, employment records from school district websites, public information, the kind anyone could access with enough time and knowledge. Here, Ghost turned his laptop so Jasper could see. Garrett Sloan, worked at Westside Elementary for 3 years. IT coordinator, transferred to Oak Ridge Elementary on September 15th, 2 weeks after Ainsley Monroe disappeared. Official reasons cited shorter commute. Jasper looked, calculated. Westside Elementary is where County Road 47, near the coast. Ghost pulled up a map. 43 minutes from Garrett's listed address. And Oak Ridge Elementary Highway 9, 51 minutes from that same address. So the transfer actually made his commute longer, not shorter, 8 minutes longer each way, 16 minutes daily, 80 minutes weekly. Ghost's voice was certain. The stated reason is demonstrably false. More typing, more searching. Ghost's eyes narrowed. And here's something interesting. Storage unit rental. County Road 19, Unit 283. Rented August 15th under the name R.A. Thompson. Who's R.A. Thompson? Nobody. Ghost pulled up another screen. Credit card used to rent the unit. Traces back to an account at Cascade Regional Bank. Account holder Garrett Allen Sloan. R.A. Thompson is an alias. Same initials reversed. When was the unit rented? August 15th, 2 weeks before Ainsley Monroe disappeared. The diner door opened. 2 police officers. Patrol units visible through the window. Lights but no sirens. Officer Stephanie Brennan, 32. 7 years with Oak Ridge Heights PD. Sharp eyes. Professional demeanor. Officer Marcus Brooks, 28, 3 years on the force, newer, less experienced, but troubled expression showing he understood this was serious. Brennan stepped inside, saw 87 motorcycles in the parking lot, 87 bikers visible through windows, 8 more inside the diner, one 7-year-old girl wrapped in a Hells Angels vest, and Garrett Sloan standing with his hand still on Joanna Hayes' arm. Brennan's hand didn't go to her weapon, but it was close. Ready, assessment mode. We got a call about a disturbance. No disturbance, officer. King stepped forward, hands visible, non-threatening. We have a child protection concern, 7-year-old with documented injuries, claims of ongoing abuse by mother's boyfriend. We called you for assistance. Brennan's expression shifted. From caution to assessment, professional mode engaging. Who's the child? Reaper guided Wren forward. Still wrapped in his vest, still small and scared, but standing. This is Wren Hayes. Brennan knelt down. Professional, gentle, the way they taught in the academy. How to approach traumatized children. Hi there, Wren. I'm Officer Brennan. Can you tell me what's going on? Wren looked at Reaper. Reaper nodded. Encouragement. It's okay. Tell her the truth. That's all you have to do. Wren took a breath, started talking. The words came easier now. Third time telling the story. Practice making it flow better. Making it coherent. She told Brennan everything. The 7 months, the locked room, the hunger, the cigarette burn, the bruises, the phone call she'd overheard, Garrett planning her disappearance, planning to make it look like an accident, the photo of Ainsley Monroe, the transfer from Westside Elementary. All of it. Brennan listened, took notes. When Wren finished, Brennan stood, looked at Garrett. Professional assessment, evaluating, Mr. Sloan. Garrett's expression was perfectly calibrated, concerned, confused, cooperative. The performance of his life. Officer, and I'm Garrett Sloan, sir. I work for Oak Ridge School District as an IT coordinator. I've been in a relationship with Wren's mother for 7 months. Wren's been struggling significantly since her parents' divorce. Her school counselor, Mrs. Veronica Strand, has documented behavioral issues. His voice was patient, reasonable. Her therapist has noted attention-seeking behaviors, including self-harm. He pulled out his phone, showed emails, screenshots, documentation. This is from her counselor 3 weeks ago recommending continued monitoring. This is from her therapist 2 weeks ago noting self-injurious behavior. Wren's creating elaborate stories because she's processing trauma from her parents' separation. It's concerning, we're getting her help. But these, he gestured at the bikers, these men have taken her claims at face value without understanding the psychological context. Brennan looked at the emails. Read them. Her expression neutral. Professional. Ma'am, she addressed Joanna, you're Wren's mother. Joanna nodded, tears streaming. Yes, I'm Joanna Hayes. Your daughter has a burn on her arm that looks consistent with cigarette contact. You've seen this injury, Wren's therapist said. Joanna's voice was broken, defeated. Some children harm themselves when they're in emotional distress, to make the pain visible, to get attention. Garrett's been so patient, so understanding. I don't think Wren's lying exactly. I think she's confused, mixing up reality and imagination. Brennan's jaw tightened. Micro-expression, brief, then professional mask back. Officer. Jasper stepped forward. I'm a former attorney. I have photographs of this child's injuries with medical timestamps and geotags. We have a former paramedic here willing to provide expert testimony. These injuries are consistent with deliberate abuse, not self-harm. We have witness statements from 4 people who saw this child trying to report abuse and being dismissed. This is a pattern of systemic failure. Brennan looked at her partner. Brooks was younger, but his expression showed he was troubled. Deeply. This needs full investigation, he said quietly. This needs CPS involvement at minimum. I agree. Brennan turned to Garrett. Mr. Sloan, I'm going to need you to come with us to the station. We need to ask you some questions. Am I under arrest? No. We'd just like to speak with you. Then respectfully, officer. Garrett's voice was calm. I decline. I have nothing to hide. But I'm not going to subject myself to questioning based on the fantasies of a troubled child. If you want to speak with me, you can contact my attorney. He pulled out a business card, had it ready, in his wallet, always prepared, always 3 steps ahead, handed it to Brennan, professional, cooperative. The picture of innocence wrongly accused. Having an attorney card ready. That was the tell. Innocent people don't carry attorney cards for child abuse accusations. But Brennan couldn't act on tells, couldn't act on instinct, had to follow procedure, had to respect rights, had to work within a system designed with protections that predators knew how to exploit. However, Brennan's voice was firm. We are going to contact Child Protective Services. They'll need to do a welfare check, home inspection, and interviews. Standard procedure when allegations like this are made. Of course, Garrett's smile was tight, controlled. We'll cooperate fully. He knew what that meant. Time. He'd have time to clean up evidence. Time to coach Joanna. Time to prepare. Time to make sure nothing looked wrong when CPS showed up. Officer Brennan, Ghost called from his table. You might want to see this. Brennan walked over. Ghost turned his laptop, showed the screen. Ainsley Monroe, 8 years old, missing for 3 weeks. Last seen August 31st near Westside Elementary. That elementary school's in the neighboring district. Guess who worked there as IT coordinator until September 15th, 2 weeks after Ainsley disappeared? Brennan's expression changed. Show me. Ghost pulled up employment records, public information, school district websites, personnel directories. Garrett Allen Sloan, Westside Elementary, 3 years. Transferred to Oak Ridge Elementary, September 15th. Reason stated shorter commute. But here's the thing. Ghost pulled up the map again. Showed distances. The transfer actually made his commute longer. Not shorter, 8 minutes each way. And here, storage unit, rented August 15th, 2 weeks before Ainsley vanished, under an alias that traces back to Garrett's credit card. Brennan's radio crackled. She stepped outside, spoke quietly into it, her words inaudible through the window. But her body language spoke volumes, tension, urgency, questions being asked, information being verified. When she came back inside, her expression had shifted completely. Mr. Sloan, her voice was different now, official, careful. I need you to wait here while we verify some information. Am I being detained? Not yet. Then I'm leaving. Garrett started toward the door. King stepped into his path, didn't touch him, didn't threaten, just stood there. 6 feet tall, 230 pounds, immovable. You're blocking my exit. Garrett's voice had an edge. Real anger bleeding through now. Public space. King's voice was calm. I'm just standing here, exercising my right to exist. Garrett looked at the windows, at the 87 bikers outside, at the wall of leather between him and his car, at Officer Brennan on her radio, at the situation collapsing around him, at years of careful planning and manipulation coming apart in 90 minutes because one 7-year-old girl refused to stop telling the truth. For the first time, Reaper saw real fear cross Garrett's face. Not the fear of being caught, the fear of consequences, of accountability, of systems he'd spent years exploiting finally turning against him. Brennan came back inside. Her face was pale. Mr. Sloan, we just got information from Seattle FBI field office. They're executing a search warrant on a storage unit registered under the name R.A. Thompson at Unit 283, County Road 19. The unit was rented using a credit card that traces back to your bank account. Garrett's face went white. Bloodless. I don't know what you're talking about. The credit card ending in 4739. That's yours, isn't it? Garrett said nothing. Fifth Amendment. Right to remain silent. Protection he understood intimately. Brennan's radio crackled again. She answered, listened. Her face went from pale to ashen. Her hand trembled slightly as she lowered the radio. The diner was silent. 23 people. 87 bikers outside, all waiting, all watching. History being made in real time. Justice delayed but arriving, slowly, inevitably. Brennan's voice was quiet. They found her. Ainsley Monroe, alive, in that storage unit. The words hit like thunder, like lightning, like the moment the world splits open and everything changes. Wren's knees buckled. Reaper caught her, held her up. She's alive. Wren's voice was disbelief. Hope, validation, terror, relief, everything at once. She's really alive. She's really alive. Brennan confirmed. along with evidence of at least 6 other victims over 8 years, computer equipment, documents, insurance fraud paperwork, communications with other individuals. This is, she stopped, collected herself. This is significantly bigger than we thought. The diner erupted, not chaos, but sound, gasps, exclamations. The Harrison family at booth 3, the father with his head in his hands, Margaret Buchanan sobbing, Frank staring at nothing. Grace Porter backing against the register, face white, realization dawning. What she'd done, who she'd protected, what she'd almost enabled. Garrett bolted, made it 3 steps. Jasper and Medic moved in perfect coordination. Former Marine and former Army medic, years of tactical training, didn't touch him, just positioned themselves in his path. Human obstacles. Garrett bounced off Medic's shoulder, stumbled, caught himself against a booth. Officer Brooks was on him in seconds. Garrett Allen Sloan, you're under arrest for kidnapping, child endangerment. I want my lawyer. Garrett's voice was immediate. Automatic, the only words that mattered now. You'll get one. Brooks pulled Garrett's hands behind his back. Applied handcuffs. Professional. Firm. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law. You have the right to an attorney. If you cannot afford an attorney, one will be provided for you. The Miranda rights. The words that meant the system was finally engaging, finally working, finally protecting instead of failing. Joanna collapsed into a booth, sobbing, not quiet tears, full breakdown. The kind that came from 7 months of denial shattering in 90 seconds. From realizing she'd believed a predator over her daughter. From understanding how close she'd come to losing Ren forever. From knowing that her choices, her exhaustion, her desperate need for help, had almost cost her child's life. Ren stood very still, watching Garrett being handcuffed, watching him being read his rights, watching the monster finally being named, being caught, being stopped, processing that someone, finally believed her, that her truth mattered, that she wasn't crazy, wasn't lying, wasn't confused, that Ainsley Monroe was alive, because Ren hadn't given up, because she'd kept telling, because she'd walked up to 8 scary-looking men and whispered, "Nobody believes me," and they'd said, "We believe you." King knelt beside Ren. "You did good, little sister. You told the truth. You kept telling it even when nobody listened." That took more courage than most adults have. Ren's voice was small, broken. "Is Ainsley really okay?" "She's really alive," King confirmed. "Because of you. Because you saw her photo. Because you kept trying to tell someone. She's alive because you didn't give up." The FBI arrived 23 minutes later. 3 black SUVs, 6 agents, led by Special Agent Sarah Novak, 41 years old, 15 years with the Bureau, Child Trafficking Division, hair pulled back, suit immaculate, eyes that had seen too much but never stopped caring. She walked into the diner, saw 87 Hells Angels, 1 7-year-old girl, a predator in handcuffs, and said simply, "Someone want to tell me what happened here?" Reaper told her. Every detail, Ren's plea, the injuries, the overheard conversation, the failed reports, the witnesses who dismissed her, the system that had failed at every level until it finally, barely, worked. Agent Novak listened, took notes. When Reaper finished, she looked at Ren, knelt down, eye level. "You're the bravest kid I've met in 15 years of doing this job, and I've met a lot of brave kids. Thank you for not giving up." She turned to King. "I'll need statements from everyone. The child, the witnesses, your brothers who documented everything. This is going to be a complex case. Multi-state, multiple victims, trafficking network. This will take months to prosecute properly. We'll cooperate fully," King said. "Good. Because what you've done here," Agent Novak paused, "documenting evidence, securing witnesses, protecting this child while working within legal boundaries. This is better than 90% of cases that land on my desk. You've basically built our case for us." "We did our job," King corrected. "Our job is protecting our own. Your job is making sure monsters like him never see daylight again." Agent Novak nodded. "He won't." With Ainsley Monroe recovered alive, with Wren's testimony, with the evidence we found in that storage unit. She paused. Significant. We're looking at multiple federal counts of kidnapping, conspiracy to exploit minors, wire fraud for the insurance schemes, and 6 other cold cases we're about to reopen. Garrett Sloan is going to spend the rest of his life in prison. What about the others? Jasper asked. Wren mentioned Garrett talking to someone on the phone. There's a network. We found communications on his computer, Agent Novak said. Encrypted, but our cyber team is already working on it. This isn't over, but you've broken it open, given us the thread to pull. The rest will unravel. It always does once you find the first loose end. The room went quiet, not the silence of peace, the silence of shock, of worlds shifting, of realities rearranging themselves into new configurations that nobody had anticipated, but everyone should have seen coming. Garrett Sloan sat in the back of Officer Brooks's patrol car, handcuffed, silent, staring straight ahead with eyes that had gone completely dead. Not defeated, not remorseful, just calculating, running through scenarios, through appeals, through legal strategies, through the mental arithmetic of a predator who'd survived this long by always having contingency plans. But this time the numbers didn't add up in his favor. Ainsley Monroe alive, 6 other victims, evidence in a storage unit, digital communications, insurance fraud documentation. A 7-year-old girl who'd refused to stop telling the truth. 87 witnesses, federal charges. The math was brutal, inescapable, final. Wren watched through the diner window as the patrol car pulled away. Red and blue lights reflecting off chrome, off glass, off the faces of people who'd dismissed her, who'd called her liar, who'd sent her away when she'd begged for help. She felt Reaper's hand on her shoulder, steady, grounding. You okay, daughter? Wren didn't answer immediately, didn't know how. Okay was a word that meant normal, meant safe, meant the world made sense, and her world had been shattered 7 months ago. Had just been shattered again in a different way. The pieces were different now, maybe better, but still broken, still scattered, still requiring assembly into something new. I don't know, her voice was small, honest. What happens now? Now we make sure you're safe. Reaper knelt down, eye level, always eye level, treating her like a person, like an equal, like someone whose perspective mattered. We get you somewhere Garrett can't reach. We get your mom help understanding what happened. We make sure the system doesn't fail you again. And we make sure Garrett Sloan never walks free. Promise, promise. Reaper's voice was iron. On my honor. On my life. On every oath I've ever taken. You're family now. We protect family. The word hit different than it should have. Family. Wren had a family, had a mother, had a father somewhere across the country who'd left 11 months ago and called twice. Had grandparents who died or stopped caring. Had relatives who sent Christmas cards with $20 in generic well wishes. But family was supposed to mean safety, protection, people who believed you when you told the truth. And blood hadn't given her that. Strangers in leather vests had. King approached, spoke quietly to Reaper. We need to move fast. CPS will be here within the hour. We need housing secured before they start asking questions about where she's staying. Already handled. Another voice. Dorian Wrench Wolf, 54 years old, owned the club's garage, fixed bikes, fixed cars, fixed lives when he could. He held up keys. 2-bedroom house on Elmwood Street, 1,200 square feet, safe neighborhood. 2 blocks from Oak Ridge Elementary. First month's rent covered. After that, it's $850 monthly. Below market. He looked at Joanna, who sat in a booth, still crying, still processing. Your family now. We take care of our own. Joanna looked up. Mascara streaked, face blotchy. I can't afford $850 a month. I'm working part-time housekeeping. $13 an hour. I can barely. Saint's been making calls. Wrench interrupted, gently. Full-time position opened up at Oak Ridge General, Environmental Services Coordinator, $19.50 an hour. Full benefits, medical, dental, vision, in interviews Monday morning if you want it. Saint knows the HR director. Put in a word. Why? Joanna's voice broke. Why are you doing this? You don't know us. You don't owe us anything. Your daughter saved another child's life. Wrench's voice was matter-of-fact, simple, like the answer was obvious. She kept trying to tell the truth when everyone said she was lying. That makes her one of ours, which makes you one of ours. That's how it works. Joanna stared at him. At these men, these scary-looking bikers with patches and scars and reputations that made parents pull children closer. These men who'd done more for her daughter in 2 hours than the entire system had done in 7 months. Than she'd done in 7 months. The guilt was crushing, physical, a weight on her chest that made breathing difficult, made existing difficult. How did I not see it? Her voice was barely audible. How did I believe him over my own daughter? Because he's a professional, Agent Novak spoke from the doorway, federal badge visible on her belt. 15 years hunting predators. 15 years studying how they operated, how they groomed, how they manipulated. Garrett Sloan has been doing this for nearly a decade. He's perfected the art, the persona, the credibility armor. You're not the first parent he's fooled. Won't be the last predator who uses respectability as camouflage. But I'm her mother. I should have known. I should have. Should is a word that destroys people. Agent Novak's voice was firm, kind but firm. What matters now is what you do next. You fight for your daughter. You believe her. You protect her. You get her the help she needs to heal. That's your job now, not guilt, not self-flagellation. Action, protection, love. Joanna nodded, wiped her eyes, looked at Wren. Baby, I'm so sorry. Wren turned away. Small movement, but devastating. The kind of rejection that came from 7 months of choosing wrong, of being told Mom doesn't believe me. Mom thinks I'm crazy. Mom loves him more than me. 7 months of that didn't evaporate with an apology, didn't heal with tears, required time, required proof, required rebuilding trust that had been systematically demolished. Joanna's face crumpled, but she didn't push, didn't demand forgiveness, didn't make it about her pain, just nodded, accepted, understood that some damage took longer to repair than it took to inflict. Agent Novak pulled Reaper aside, spoke quietly. We're going to need Wren's testimony. Full statement, medical examination, documentation of everything. It's going to be invasive, difficult, traumatic. She needs support through it. She'll have it. Reaper's voice was certain. Whatever she needs. Therapy, medical, legal advocacy. She doesn't go through this alone. Good. Because this case is going to be national news within 48 hours. 8-year-old trafficking victim recovered alive. Multi-state network. School district employee, church deacon, all the elements that make media coverage intense. Wren's identity will be protected, sealed. But the pressure will be there, the knowledge that she's at the center of something big. She can handle it. Reaper looked at Wren, still small, still scared, but standing, not hiding, not running. She's stronger than anyone gave her credit for. 6 weeks later, November 12th, Federal Courthouse, Portland, Courtroom C, the Honorable District Judge Patricia Moreno presiding. United States of America versus Garrett Allen Sloan. Case number 24, CR03847. The courtroom was packed. Media in the back rows. Sketch artists, reporters with notepads, families of victims, advocacy groups. And in the front row, right side, Wren Hayes, 8 years old now. Birthday had passed quietly. November 3rd, Reaper had brought cupcakes. The Brotherhood had sung. Small celebration, nothing elaborate. Wren wasn't ready for elaborate yet. She sat between Joanna and Dr. Iris Calloway, 38, trauma psychologist, specializing in child abuse survivors. Wren had been seeing her twice weekly since October 1st, learning to process, to cope, to understand that what happened wasn't her fault, that healing was possible even when scars remained. Wren wore a navy blue dress, clean, new, bought specifically for today. Her hair was pulled back. Neat. She looked healthier. 62 pounds now, healthy weight for her height, color in her cheeks, dark circles fading, still present but diminishing. Visual evidence of healing in progress. The trial had lasted 6 days. Prosecution had presented their case methodically, deliberately, building a narrative of systematic abuse, of calculated predation. of a man who'd spent nearly a decade exploiting his position to harm children. Ainsley Monroe had testified, 8 years old, brave, broken, recovering, told the court about 3 weeks in a storage unit, about being told her family didn't want her, about being promised adoption by a nice family if she behaved, about the terror, the loneliness, the certainty that she would die there. 5 other victims had testified, ages ranging from 7 to 14, cases spanning 8 years, 3 states, all following the same pattern: troubled kids from broken homes, kids nobody would believe, kids Garrett had identified, groomed, isolated, disappeared, until Wren had refused to disappear quietly. The defense had attempted plea bargaining. Prosecution had refused. No deals, no reduced sentences, no possibility of parole, full accountability or trial. Defense had chosen trial, had presented character witnesses, had tried to paint Garrett as victim of false accusations, had failed spectacularly when forensic evidence proved overwhelming, when digital communications showed clear planning, when insurance fraud documentation revealed financial motive. The jury had deliberated 97 minutes, returned guilty on all counts, 63 separate charges, each one representing a choice, a decision, an act of evil dressed in respectability. Now came sentencing, the moment when words became consequences, when justice moved from theory to reality. Judge Moreno sat elevated, 62 years old, 20 years on the federal bench, eyes that had seen every kind of human behavior, every excuse, every justification, every attempt to minimize, to deflect, to escape accountability. She'd heard it all, believed none of it. Mr. Sloan, her voice carried weight, authority, the power of law made manifest. You've been found guilty of 63 counts, including 6 counts of kidnapping, conspiracy to traffic minors, wire fraud, child endangerment, assault, and unlawful restraint. Before I pronounce sentence, the victims have the right to be heard, to tell you in this court how your actions have affected their lives. She looked at the prosecutor. 6 victim impact statements, all written. Some will be read by victim advocates. One will be read by the victim herself. We'll begin with Ainsley Monroe. A woman stood. Victim advocate. Read Ainsley's words. Carefully, with appropriate emotion but not dramatization. Ainsley's voice through proxy, describing fear, describing trauma, describing 3 weeks of believing she would never see her family again. The courtroom listened, silent, respectful, bearing witness to pain that could never be fully expressed, only approximated through language that fell short of capturing true horror. 4 more statements, 4 more victims, 4 more stories of manipulation and abuse and lives forever altered. The weight accumulated, filled the courtroom, made the air thick, made breathing difficult. Then Judge Moreno spoke. Final victim impact statement. Wren Hayes, age 8, the victim whose testimony broke this case open, who brought Mr. Sloan's activities to light. She's chosen to read her own statement. Wren stood, hands shaking. Dr. Calloway had helped her write this, had practiced with her, but practice was different than performance, different than standing in a federal courtroom with everyone watching, with Garrett 20 feet away, with the weight of justice resting partially on her small shoulders. She walked to the podium, had to stand on a small step stool to reach the microphone. Her paper trembled in her hands, carefully folded, the same way she'd folded the drawing of Ainsley, the same way she'd folded everything in her life, making things smaller, more manageable, more controllable. She unfolded the paper, smoothed it, took a breath, began reading. My name is Wren Hayes. I'm 8 years old. Garrett Sloan hurt me for 7 months. He locked me in a basement room every night. He starved me. He burned me with cigarettes. He told me nobody would believe me because I'm just a troubled kid from a broken home. Her voice was steady, stronger than anyone expected. Dr. Calloway had taught her breathing techniques, grounding exercises, ways to stay present, stay focused, stay strong. He was right for a long time. I told 4 adults before I found someone who listened. A teacher, a neighbor, a police operator, a waitress. All of them sent me away. All of them believed Garrett instead of me. Because Garrett looks safe, and I look scared. And scared kids from broken homes aren't believable. She paused, glanced at Garrett. He stared straight ahead, expressionless, refusing to acknowledge her, refusing to give her even the dignity of eye contact. But then I met Reaper and his brothers. Wren's voice softened, warmed. They believed me when my own mother didn't. They protected me when the system failed. They made sure Ainsley and 5 other kids got saved. They taught me that the truth matters, even when people don't want to hear it, especially then. Another pause, breath, gathering courage for the hardest part. I want other kids to know something. If you're being hurt and nobody believes you, keep telling, keep trying, tell everyone, because eventually you'll find someone who listens. Maybe it'll be a teacher who actually pays attention. Maybe a neighbor who asks questions. Maybe 8 bikers at a diner who look scary but aren't. Soft laughter rippled through the courtroom, gentle, affectionate, acknowledging the absurdity, the beautiful irony, the reversal of expectations that had saved her life. The truth matters. Wren's voice strengthened, even when adults don't want to hear it, even when it's inconvenient or uncomfortable or challenges what they believe. Children don't lie about being hurt. Not like this, not with this much detail, not consistently over months. Adults lie about children lying, because believing children means having to do something, and doing something is hard. And Garrett knew that, used that, counted on that. She looked directly at Garrett now, forced herself, making him see her, making him acknowledge the human cost of his choices. You told me I was the problem, that I was troubled, that I needed help. But you were wrong. You were the problem. You're the one who's troubled. You're the one who needs help that prison will never provide. And I'm not broken. I'm healing. I'm strong. I'm a survivor. Her voice cracked, just slightly, but she pushed through. I'm 8 years old and I saved 6 lives by refusing to stay silent. That's more than you'll ever do, more than you'll ever accomplish. Your legacy is pain. Mine is truth, and truth always wins eventually. Even when it takes too long, even when too many people have to suffer first, truth prevails. Because people like Reaper exist. Because people finally listen. Because kids like me refuse to give up. She folded the paper, stepped down from the stool, walked back to her seat. The courtroom was silent. Not awkward silence, reverent silence. The kind that followed profound truth spoken with courage that shamed every adult who'd failed her. Judge Moreno waited. Let the words settle. Let their weight be felt. Then she spoke. Mr. Sloan, you've heard from your victims. You've heard how your actions have destroyed childhoods, shattered families, created trauma that will require years of therapy to address. Do you have anything to say before I pronounce sentence? Garrett's lawyer stood, made a motion. Garrett remained seated, silent, exercising his right not to speak, maintaining the only control he had left. Silence. Judge Moreno nodded, expected. Very well. She opened a folder, read from prepared remarks. Her voice was measured, professional, but underneath, anger, controlled, channeled, weaponized into words. Mr. Sloan, in my 20 years on this bench, I have seen many defendants, many criminals, many people who made terrible choices or suffered from circumstances beyond their control. You are not one of those people. You are something different, something more calculated, more deliberate, more evil. She paused. Let that word land. Evil. A word judges rarely used. A word that carried weight beyond legal terminology, beyond clinical diagnosis. A word that acknowledged moral bankruptcy, spiritual corruption, the kind of wrongness that transcended law and entered theology. You systematically exploited your position of trust to identify vulnerable children. You used your credibility as a school employee, as a church deacon, as a volunteer. You weaponized society's tendency to doubt children and believe respectable adults. You built armor out of institutional affiliation and used it to harm the very children those institutions were meant to protect. Her voice hardened. You didn't abuse children in moments of weakness or lapses of judgment. You planned, you prepared, you executed, you profited. You identified troubled kids from broken homes specifically because you knew they wouldn't be believed. You documented their behavioral issues through complicit counselors. You created paper trails that made them look disturbed. You systematically destroyed their credibility before they could even speak. Judge Moreno looked directly at Garrett, unblinking. You told Ren Hayes that nobody would believe her. You were nearly right. 4 adults dismissed her before she found someone who listened. 4 failures. 4 moments when the system worked exactly how you expected, how you'd planned, how you'd exploited for years. But you made one critical mistake. You underestimated her courage, her persistence, her refusal to accept that nobody believes me, their final answer. She glanced at Ren. Slight nod. Acknowledgement. Respect. This court finds that you are a continuing danger to every child who might ever cross your path. You have shown no remorse, no accountability, no recognition of wrongdoing. You have spent this entire trial maintaining innocence despite overwhelming evidence, despite testimony from 6 children, despite digital communications, despite physical evidence, despite every proof imaginable. Judge Moreno's voice became steel. I am ensuring you never cross another child's path again. On count 1 kidnapping, I sentence you to life imprisonment. On count 2 kidnapping, I sentence you to life imprisonment. On counts 3 through 6 kidnapping, life imprisonment on each count. All sentences to run consecutively, not concurrently. Consecutively, meaning you will serve them one after another, meaning you will never be eligible for release. She continued through additional charges. Wire fraud, conspiracy, child endangerment, adding years that didn't matter because life plus life plus life already meant forever. But she pronounced each one, made each count matter, made each victim's suffering acknowledged in legal record. Total sentence, 8 consecutive life terms, no possibility of parole. You will spend the remainder of your natural life in federal custody. You will die in prison, and the world will be safer for it. Gavel, single strike, decisive, final. Court is adjourned. Garrett was led away, handcuffed, orange jumpsuit, the khakis and polo shirt long gone, respectability stripped away, leaving only reality, only truth, only consequences. He didn't look back, didn't acknowledge victims, didn't show anything, just walked, disappeared through a door, into a future measured in concrete walls and locked cells and decades of reflecting on choices that had seemed so clever, so foolproof, until a 7-year-old girl refused to cooperate with her own erasure. Outside the courthouse, November afternoon, cold, gray. Oregon weather, perpetually overcast. Ren stood with Joanna and Dr. Calloway. Reaper waited nearby, respectful distance, giving them space, but present, available, protective. Joanna knelt down, eye level, the way Reaper always did, learning, adopting, becoming the mother Ren needed. Baby, it's over. He can't hurt you anymore. He can't hurt anyone anymore. Ren nodded, processing. It didn't feel over, felt ongoing, felt like the beginning of something else. Some new chapter where she had to figure out who she was beyond victim, beyond survivor, beyond the girl Garrett tried to erase. Can we go home? Her voice was small, tired. Yeah, baby, we can go home. Home. The word still felt strange. New. The house on Elmwood Street, 2 bedrooms, safe neighborhood. Wrench had been right. It was nice, clean, warm, locks on the inside of bedroom doors that Ren controlled, refrigerator without padlock, food whenever she wanted, room to breathe, to exist, to slowly remember what normal felt like. Joanna had gotten the job. Environmental Services Coordinator, Oak Ridge General, $19.50 an hour, full benefits. Started October 15th. First real paycheck had made her cry, not because of the amount, because it meant independence, meant not needing Garrett, meant being able to provide, to protect, to be the mother she should have been all along. They'd started therapy together, mother-daughter sessions with Dr. Calloway, working through trust, through betrayal, through the slow, painful process of rebuilding relationship that had been damaged, not destroyed, damaged. Difference mattered. Destroyed meant unfixable. Damaged meant difficult but possible, meant effort, meant time, meant commitment to healing even when it hurt. Wren had forgiven her mother. Partially, conditionally, the kind of forgiveness that said, I understand you were manipulated, but I still need time to trust you again. Adult forgiveness from an 8-year-old who'd been forced to grow up too fast, to understand too much, to carry weight that should never have been hers. The healing was happening, slowly, incrementally. Forward progress measured in small victories. Sleeping through the night twice a week instead of once. Eating meals without calculating if she'd be punished for it. Going to school without scanning every adult mail for threat. Small things, huge things, everything. 1 year later, September 28th, 2025. Oak Ridge Heights, Hells Angels Clubhouse. Annual Brotherhood barbecue, 200 bikers, families, friends, supporters. The backyard was massive. Quarter acre, grills smoking, music playing, kids running around, laughter, life, celebration. Wren was 8 years old, nearly 9, birthday coming in 6 weeks. She weighed 68 pounds, healthy, thriving, hair long again, pulled back in a ponytail. She wore jeans and a t-shirt with a dinosaur on it, still loved dinosaurs. Some things didn't change. Some comfort remained constant. She'd caught up academically, behind 3 months after the trial, caught up in 6 weeks. Father Tobias had tutored her, patient, kind, teaching more than math and reading, teaching that adults could be trusted, that learning was safe, that questions were welcome, slowly rebuilding her relationship with education, with authority, with the world. School had been hard at first. Other kids knew something had happened, didn't know details. Wren's identity had been sealed, protected. But kids talked, whispered, speculated. Some had been kind, others curious. Few had been cruel in the way children could be, asking invasive questions, making jokes, not understanding. But Wren had found friends, real ones, like Sophia Brennan, Officer Brennan's daughter, same age, same class. Sophia knew the truth. Her mother had told her age appropriately, had explained that Wren was brave, had saved other kids, was a hero. Sophia had treated her normally, had invited her to play, had been first real friend Wren made after everything. Now Wren stood near the main stage, small platform, microphone, where King made announcements, where club business got conducted in public appropriate ways. She was nervous, hands fidgeting. Reaper stood beside her, steady, supportive. You don't have to do this if you're not ready. I'm ready. Wren's voice was certain. I want to. King stepped up to the microphone, raised his hand. The crowd quieted. 200 people, all attention forward, all respect given freely. Brothers, families, friends. King's voice carried, gravelly, warm. 1 year ago today. September 28th, 2024. A 7-year-old girl walked into Bear's Den Diner and said 3 words to Reaper. Nobody believes me. Those 3 words changed everything. Changed her life. Changed 6 other children's lives. Changed how this club thinks about our mission, our purpose, our responsibility to protect the vulnerable. He paused. Let the weight settle. That girl, Wren Hayes, tried to tell 4 adults before she found us. 4 rejections. 4 failures. 4 times the system didn't work. But she didn't give up. Didn't accept that nobody believes me as final answer. She kept trying, kept telling Tro, kept fighting for herself and for Ainsley Monroe, and for 5 other kids she didn't even know existed, but knew in her heart were out there. Were suffering. Were waiting for someone to care enough to act. King looked at Wren, gestured. Come on up here, little sister. Wren walked up the steps. Reaper stayed close, protective. She reached the microphone. Had to stand on a box to reach. Same as the courtroom. Same as every official moment. Reminders that she was small, young, but her impact wasn't. Her courage wasn't. Her truth wasn't. Wren Hayes, King's voice was solemn, ceremonial. This club has discussed, has debated, has voted, and we've reached a unanimous decision. Something we rarely do. Something reserved for matters of greatest importance. He pulled something from his vest pocket. Leather patch, 3 inches by 4. Bold letters, truth teller, the club's colors, the weight of meaning stitched into fabric. We're giving you a road name. King's voice filled with emotion, controlled but present. Road names are earned, not given lightly. They represent who you are, what you stand for, what you've proven through action and courage and commitment to brotherhood. You're 8 years old, youngest person we've ever given a road name. But age doesn't diminish what you've done, how you've lived, who you've become. He held up the patch. From this day forward, when you're with us, when you're family, you're not just Ren Hayes, you're truth teller. Because you spoke truth when everyone said you were lying. Because you kept speaking it when silence would have been easier. Because you saved 6 lives by refusing to stay quiet. Because you've earned your place in this family, this brotherhood, this legacy. The crowd erupted, not polite applause, thunder, 200 voices, 200 hands, recognition, acceptance. Welcome, the sound physical, visceral, washing over Ren like a wave. King knelt, eye level, always eye level. Do you accept this name, this responsibility, this family? Ren looked at the patch, at the letters, truth teller, at the meaning, at the weight, at the identity being offered. Not forced, offered, her choice, her decision, her control. She thought about 7 months locked in a basement, about 4 adults who sent her away, about Garrett's voice saying, "Nobody will believe you," about the moment Reaper knelt down and said, "I believe you, daughter," about Ainsley Monroe alive, about 6 other kids recovering, about the trial, about justice, about healing, about becoming someone new, someone stronger, someone who mattered. I accept. Her voice was clear, strong, certain. King attached the patch to a small leather vest, made specifically for her, child-sized. Hell's Angels colors, her name, her identity, her belonging. He draped it over her shoulders. It fit, actually fit, not drowning her like Reapers had a year ago. Made for her, made to last, made to grow with her, the crowd chanted, not aggressive, not demanding, reverent, recognition, truth, 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 not her name, her identity, her purpose, her legacy. Ren turned to the microphone. Unexpected, unplanned, but necessary. She had words, needed to speak them, needed this moment, this audience, this family. Thank you. Her voice carried, amplified, heard, for believing me when nobody else would, for protecting me, for helping my mom, for making sure Ainsley and the others got saved, for teaching me that family isn't just blood. It's choosing to show up, choosing to listen, choosing to care. She paused, breath, gathering thoughts. I want to say something to other kids, kids out there who are trying to tell and nobody's listening. Don't give up. Keep telling your truth. Tell everyone, because eventually you'll find someone who believes you. Maybe it'll be a teacher who actually pays attention. Maybe a neighbor who asks questions. Maybe 8 bikers at a diner who look scary but aren't. Laughter, warm, knowing, the beautiful absurdity of truth. The truth matters. Even when adults don't want to hear it, even when it's hard or scary or makes people uncomfortable. Keep telling it, because somewhere there's a Reaper waiting to hear you, a king ready to mobilize, a brotherhood ready to protect. You just have to keep trying. Keep speaking. Keep refusing to be silenced. She looked at Reaper, at King, at the 200 people who'd become family, who'd chosen her, who'd proven that scary-looking people could be safest, that leather and patches could mean protection, that Hell's Angels could be heaven sent. I'm not a victim, I'm a survivor, I'm truth teller. And if my story helps even one kid find their voice, find their Reaper, find their family, then everything I went through mattered. Because the truth always matters. Because children always matter. Because nobody should have to say nobody believes me more than once. She stepped back from the microphone. The applause was deafening, physical. 200 people standing, honoring, witnessing, accepting. This 8-year-old girl who'd saved 6 lives and changed a brotherhood and proven that courage came in small packages with huge hearts. Reaper pulled her into a hug. This 6'2" scarred biker holding an 8-year-old girl who'd become his daughter in every way that mattered. Not legally, not biologically, but spiritually, emotionally, through choice and commitment, and proving daily that family was action, not words. I'm proud of you. His voice was rough, thick with emotion. So damn proud. 3 months later, December 15th, Oak Ridge Heights Child Advocacy Center, newly open, funded partially by settlement money from the school district, from the church, from institutions that had enabled Garrett through negligence, through willful blindness, through prioritizing reputation over protection. Wren volunteered there, 2 afternoons weekly, after school, supervised by Dr. Calloway, age-appropriate tasks, helping younger kids feel safe, playing with them, reading to them, being present, being proof that survival was possible, that healing happened, that life continued after trauma. She sat in the play area, rainbow rug, toys organized in bins, books on low shelves, everything designed for comfort, for safety, for children who'd seen too much, known too much, survived too much. A girl approached, 6 years old, small, frightened, fresh bruises hidden under long sleeves but visible in movement, in posture, in eyes that had learned to scan for danger before relaxing. The girl sat near Wren, not close, maintaining distance, safety, control. Wren didn't push, didn't ask questions, just kept coloring. Dinosaurs, always dinosaurs, letting the girl decide, letting her choose engagement, choose trust, choose voice. After 10 minutes, the girl spoke. Did something bad happen to you too? Wren looked up, nodded. Yeah, something bad happened. Did anyone believe you? Wren thought about the question, about the 4 rejections, about the moment everything changed, eventually. Not at first, but eventually. I found someone who listened, who's scary-looking bikers at a diner. The girl's eyes widened. Really, really? Wren smiled. Sometimes the helpers don't look how you expect. Sometimes the people who are supposed to be safe aren't. And sometimes the people who look scary are actually the safest. You just have to keep trying, keep telling, keep looking for your person. What if nobody believes me? Then you tell someone else, and someone else, and someone else, until you find your reaper. Your person who says, I believe you, and means it. They're out there, I promise. The girl nodded, processing. How do you know? Because I almost gave up. 4 people sent me away. 4 times I thought nobody believes me was true forever. But then I tried one more time, and that time worked. That time changed everything. Wren put down her crayon, met the girl's eyes. You're here. That means you're telling. That means you're trying. That means you haven't given up. That's the hardest part, the bravest part. Everything else follows from that, from refusing to stay silent, from speaking truth even when nobody wants to hear it. The girl was quiet for a long moment. Then, what happened to the person who hurt you? Prison. 8 life sentences. He'll never hurt anyone again. Good. Yeah, good. They sat together, coloring, silent, but comfortable. 2 survivors, at different ages, different stories, same truth, same courage, same refusal to let trauma define them, same insistence that they mattered, that their voices mattered. That truth prevailed when people were brave enough to speak it. Outside the advocacy center, Reaper waited, leaning against his motorcycle, watching through the window, seeing Wren with the younger girl, seeing her pass forward what had been given to her. Belief, support, proof that surviving was possible. King approached, stood beside him. She's good at this. Yeah, Reaper's voice was soft. She is. Think she'll make it her life's work? Reaper shrugged. Maybe. She talks about becoming a psychologist, helping kids who've been through what she went through, turning trauma into purpose, pain into protection. She'd be good at it. She's good at everything she decides to do. That's who she is. Truth teller. Never quits, never compromises, never accepts that things can't change. King smiled. We did good. Taking her in, making her family. No, Reaper corrected. She did good. Finding us, trusting us, believing that scary-looking bikers might actually help. We just showed up. She did the hard part. They watched through the window, Wren and the young girl, coloring together, building trust, building hope, Building future where children's voices mattered, where truth prevailed, where nobody believes me became a challenge instead of a conclusion. The sun set over Oak Ridge Heights, December twilight, cold, gray, Oregon winter settling in. Inside the Advocacy Center, warmth, light, children learning they mattered, learning their voices counted, learning that trauma didn't have to be forever, that healing was possible, that truth tellers existed, that families chose you, that Hell's Angels could be guardian angels. Wren looked up from her coloring, caught Reaper's eye through the window, smiled, not the broken smile of 7 months in hell, the genuine smile of an 8-year-old who'd survived, who'd saved others, who'd found family, who'd become truth-telling, who'd learned that courage was telling truth even when nobody wanted to hear it. That strength was trying one more time after 4 rejections. That love was leather-wearing bikers kneeling to eye level and saying, "I believe you, daughter." She waved. Small gesture, huge meaning. "I'm okay. I'm healing. I'm going to be okay." Reaper waved back. Same message reflected. "I know. I see you. I'm here. Always." The young girl beside Wren asked something. Wren nodded, started telling her story. Not all of it, age-appropriate version, but enough. Enough to give hope, to give possibility, to give proof that surviving was real, that justice happened, that people who hurt children went to prison. That truth mattered, that voices mattered, that 8-year-olds could change the world by refusing to stay silent. Outside, Reaper climbed onto his motorcycle. King did the same, engines roaring to life, chrome gleaming in twilight, leather vests catching last light, patches visible. Hell's Angels, Pacific Northwest, Sergeant-at-Arms, President, names of brothers who didn't come home. Psalm 82, verses 3 and 4. Defend the weak and the fatherless. Uphold the cause of the poor and oppressed. Not just words, mission, purpose, calling, proven daily through action, through showing up, through kneeling to eye level, through saying I believe you when everyone else said I don't, through creating family from strangers, safety from fear, hope from despair. They rode toward the sunset, toward home, toward clubhouse where brotherhood waited, where family gathered, where truth teller's vest hung on a special hook. Small leather, big meaning, identity earned, legacy building, future forming. Behind them, inside the Advocacy Center, Wren Hayes, 8 years old, 68 pounds, survivor, truth teller, hero, sat with a 6-year-old girl who needed what Wren had needed a year ago. Someone to believe, someone to listen, someone to say your voice matters and mean it. And Wren provided, gave forward, paid back, turned trauma into purpose, pain into protection, fear into courage. Wren colored her dinosaur green with steady hands. The 6-year-old beside her watched, picked up a crayon, started her own drawing. Tentative, hopeful. "What are you drawing?" Wren asked. The girl looked up, small smile, first one Wren had seen. "A T-Rex, like yours. Good choice." Wren smiled back. "Dinosaurs are brave. They survived everything." Outside, Reaper started his motorcycle. The engine roared to life, chrome gleaming in December twilight. He looked back at the Advocacy Center window, at Wren teaching another survivor what she'd learned. That truth matters. That voices matter. That family is choice. That courage is trying one more time. He raised his hand, single gesture. Pride, promise, protection. Wren saw, waved back, then turned to the girl beside her, to the work, to the future. One child at a time, one moment of belief at a time. One whispered, "Nobody believes me," finding its "I believe you, daughter." Forever, always, truth prevailing.